Thursday, December 4th, regular class as we get into the actual reading of Shadow Club information. Oh, wait, camera. Alright. Book report due in 13 days. Stupid computer.
Oh, I hate my computer.
It had to reboot. Roll it up on itself. Zach, speak quickly.
Nobody get in front of the camera.
Are you ready to make traffic? Ow, Travis.
Problem solved.
Ow, Travis.
As we go through and kid losing points. Take a look at the book. Here's what I'm going to have you do. Highlight as we get into our exposition, the boring beginning stuff. When we find character descriptions, if you can connect that character description to someone you know, whether it be family member, friend, yourself, or even to another character from a book or a TV show, I'm just going to have you highlight it in the book and then just write out to the side, like in the little marginy area, the little marginy area. Just write down who it would be. There's a part coming up where one of the characters looks possessed by the devil. In mine, I highlighted that and put down myself, Guybor. So I make that little connection. There's another one where it says, she never knows when she's wrong and keeps arguing even though she isn't right. And I highlight that one and put down Mrs. Broviak. Because she's not watching this, it's fine. About the idea of not knowing. So that's what I'm looking for you to be able to do. And I'll give you guys a chance to share them with us as we go through. Isabel?
What if you can't connect them?
Well, then don't highlight that one. You highlight the ones you can connect.
Well, what if you can't connect them?
Well, then you failed as a human.
Ooh.
Good try. Jake, not Jake. Jakey.
Isn't that like every woman?
Well, you can write that down and put every woman on yours if you want to. I was planning on not being stabbed in an eyeball. You know, each their own. With us, we're going to start on page 3, because that's the part that says prologue, so that's where we get to start our stuff. Do you guys know what prologue means?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
The like beginning of it?
Yeah, pro means before, log means talk, so prologue technically means before talk. So it's the before the actual story starts. Travis?
Are you allowed to connect? Are you allowed to connect it to a character in like another book or?
Yeah, like if there's the part where the parents have died, you can put down, you know, Harry Potter, and so that's fine with me. Yes.
The prologue, like the backstory?
Something like that. That would work for me.
Hey.
I suppose you want to know all about us, don't you? All the nasty, horrible details about the vicious things we did. How we planned the accidents. How we plotted against everyone who got in our way. That's what you want to hear, isn't it? Well, it wasn't like that. Not to us anyway. Not at first. Things just got carried away, that's all. We were all good kids. I mean, really good kids. Not a single kid in the Shadow Club had ever done anything bad. And there wasn't a single delinquent in the bunch. Well, not at first. Do you guys know what a delinquent is? Josh.
Like a prisoner as a kid.
Yeah, a kid that makes a poor choice, if you will. I still don't know how it all happened. We just lost control, you know? Too many bad feelings have a way of spinning together into one killer tornado. And none of us in the Shadow Club knew how to stop it. Or, for that matter, where it was going. I haven't told anyone the whole story yet. I don't like to talk about it because it scares me. I get nightmares. When I was little, I got nightmares about werewolves or dumb things like that. Now, I get nightmares about myself. And since it happened, I've been catching other kids looking at me funny, like I'm a different person now. Like I'm that monster I dream about. But it's not true. And I don't know how to prove to them that I'm still me. I'm just a whole lot smarter now, that's all. Like I said, I haven't told anyone, but I can't keep it in anymore. If I do, I'll go crazy. So, listen closely, and I'll tell you all there is to know about the Shadow Club. But you have to promise you won't hate me when I'm done. I'll begin long before any of the bad stuff happened. Before I spied on Tyson McGaw. Even before the first meeting. Way back when that tornado wasn't even a breeze. Just a bunch of thoughts kept secretly in the back of our minds. Thoughts we were sure no one else could understand. It all started with that day in the graveyard. Chapter, Stupid Talk. The book doesn't have chapter numbers, just chapter titles. So I can't really give you a number. But we'll call this one chapter 1. It was the strangest place for anyone to have a wedding. And whoever came up with the idea of having weddings there must have had a very sick mind. This town has to be the only town in the history of the world that has weddings in a cemetery. Anyway, it was the first day of September, and we all stood there in the rose garden at the very edge of shady bluff Memorial Park, sipping punch from tiny cups and stuffing our faces with little cheese hors d'oeuvres, waiting for the wedding to start. Cheryl's mom was getting married. Cheryl had been nervously chewing the lip of her cup till there was none of it left, and checking to see if her hair was still in place. She had a good reason to be nervous, since it was her mother's wedding, and she was about to have a new father. But that wasn't the only reason she was nervous. I just know they're going to ask me to sing, Cheryl mumbled under her breath. Huh? Said Randall, her younger brother. Sing. They're going to ask me to sing? Don't be dumb. People don't sing in cemeteries. Which was a good point. No, I mean later, said Cheryl. At the house, during the party, they always ask me to sing. Randall rolled his eyeballs so far back you could almost hear them turning in his head. Like when? Cheryl thought for a moment. Then a smirk spread over her face. Like at your birthday party, she said triumphantly. She looked at me, but I knew better than to stick my nose in this one. My nose has been whacked too many times for being where it never should have been in the first place. This was their argument. Yeah, well, guess what, said Randall. I got news for you. Nobody asked you. You got up there and sang anyway, all on your lonesome. That's not true. Somebody asked me. Who? I don't remember who. Doesn't matter. The point is that I was asked. And as I recall, everyone clapped. They clapped because I blew out the candles, said Randall. Well, that too. But they liked the way I led Happy Birthday. I kept them all in tune. You were louder than anyone else you meet. And you didn't have to stand on a chair. That was embarrassing. Someone has to lead, demanded Cheryl. It's like the national anthem at a ball game. Someone has to lead it, or everyone sings at the wrong time, out of tune, and it sounds lousy. It was about this time that I forced my ears closed and tuned the two of them out. True, Cheryl and Randall were my best friends, but there's only so much stupid talk a human brain can listen to. And when Cheryl and Randall got started, they could stupid talk each other till their mouths wore out. I turned off my brain whenever my parents did it, and I turned off my brain whenever my friends did it. I was closer friends with Cheryl than I was with Randall. In fact, you could say that Cheryl was my best friend. She'd been my best friend all my life, or as far back as I can remember. Back to the days when it was all right for little boys to play with little girls because we didn't really know the difference. And through the time when everyone would make fun of us because boys were supposed to do boys things with boys and girls were supposed to do girls things with girls. Now, no one much bothered us because at 14, everyone has more sense. Besides, people envied us because everyone was so sure we were a lot more than we really were, if you know what I mean. Other kids always think that kind of thing if you're friends with a girl. Do you know what he means?
Yeah. Carter.
What does he mean that they are?
What did I find then?
BF and GF.
BF and GFs, but he says that they're not, that they're just friends. Oh, and I underlined the part that talked about turning off the brain whenever the person talks, and I put my own name next to it because that's what I do whenever students talk.
What?
Anyway, neither Cheryl nor Randall knew when to shut up or when to give up, since they were always so convinced that they were right. They argued like lawyers, which is something they both got from their mother, who is a lawyer. This time, however, I knew for a fact that Randall was right. No one had asked Cheryl to sing at that party. The only person that was asked to sing was Cheryl's cousin, Rebecca. And luckily, Cheryl was out back when it happened, or else she would have been in an evil mood for the rest of the day. Cheryl hated Rebecca about as much as I hated Austin Pace, but I'll leave that for later. You just watch, said Cheryl. Mom will come over to me and ask me to sing when she and Paul have their first dance. I'll bet you. You're on. I'll bet you money, but I wouldn't want to make you feel too bad. Fine, it's settled then, I said, just to shut him up. The winner gets no money, but will get to hang their victory over the other person's head for the rest of their life. All right? Fine, they both said. Good. Now, both of you shut up. Looks like you're getting ready to start. In a few minutes, Randall and Cheryl left to join the bridal party, which would come down the aisle along with the bride. My parents found me, and we went to sit in the rows of chairs by the little vine-covered gazebo in which the wedding would take place. The air was still warm that day, as if it had forgotten autumn was coming pretty soon, but the trees remembered. You could tell that they were just about ready to start turning colors. It was a nice day for a wedding. Cheryl came down the aisle with the rest of the bridesmaids. I knew she hated all that makeup and hairspray, but I have to admit, I'd never seen her look so beautiful. Even more beautiful than her mother did in her wedding dress. Of course, I couldn't tell Cheryl that. She tended to punch people who told her she looked beautiful. As the ceremony went on, I saw Cheryl's cousin Rebecca on the other side of the aisle. She sat there like a little princess, all 4 feet of her, pretending to be the cutest thing on earth, like she was taking Shirley Temple lessons or something. Even just sitting, you could sense that air about her, like she was the one in Cheryl's family that everyone adored, and she knew it. I could see why Cheryl resented her. Who wouldn't? All that pretend sweetness all rolled up into one tiny body. What made it even more irksome for Cheryl was that next week, Rebecca would make her grand entrance into our junior high, and would, as always, set out to top anything Cheryl had ever done. Do you guys know who Shirley Temple is?
Yeah.
Who's Shirley Temple?
She's a drink.
There is a drink named after her.
Yeah.
A Sprite with cherry in it.
A child actor.
She was a child actor. Zach?
I should know that.
Child actor, a dancer, and a singer.
Nice enough. She was one of the very first big child actors. And so Shirley Temple is the adorable one. She does the Molly.
Oh my God, that
In the Grand Prix.
Oh, she
Like-
recently died.
like little songs like that. Yeah. The problem with being an adorable child is eventually you grow up. Things don't always turn out so well.
She died.
We'll go back.
Oh,
Yes.
I know, I said that.
That happens to everyone
looks
eventually.
like Carter.
Wow, what a way to spend your points.
It was a good way.
It was worth it for you. Well, the wedding went fine, and so did the first half of the party back in Cheryl's backyard. It was when the band started its second set that things started to change. It seemed that Cheryl was having such a great time, dancing and jabbering at anyone who had an ear, that she forgot all about her little bet with Randall back in the old graveyard rose garden. It could have gone forgotten, and no one, not even Randall, would have cared. But something happened. Cheryl and I were dancing quite a lot, since we both liked to dance, and were tiring ourselves out, when the lead singer ended the song and began talking. "How are we doing out there?" he asked the guests. A few people mumbled, "Good." "Great. Now we have a very special request. I understand there's a young lady here who's quite a singer." "I knew it," said Cheryl, and she cleared her throat half a dozen times. "And a very special request from the bride for her to come up here and give us a song," continued the singer. Cheryl cracked her knuckles, which made me wince, cleared her throat again. Randall, from across the yard, caught her gaze, amazed that his sister was actually going to win. "So maybe if we give her a great big hand, she'll come on up and sing for us?" Cheryl bit her lip, leaned forward, sure that the eyes of the whole world were looking at her. The singer put on a big smile. "Let's hear it for Rebecca!" Cheryl took one step forward, and then it hit her. You could almost hear her jaw drop open. People began to applaud. Randall began to laugh. Then he turned to Cheryl, scratched his head, and gave her his best monkey impersonation. Cheryl ignored him and turned to me, and for a split second she had that look in her eye that you only see in movies about people possessed by the devil. But the look faded. She sighed and said, "Well, that just figures, doesn't it? You should go up there and sing with her." "Nope, I wasn't asked. Darned if I'm going to make a fool of myself like she's going to." Rebecca stepped onto the patio where the band was. She was all of 12, but looked more like she was 9, even younger with the cutesy dress she was wearing. Shirley Temple lessons. The band began to play the requested song. Excuse me. And Rebecca began to pretend she was a rock star. Personally, I thought that Cheryl sang a little better, but what do I know? Needless to say, Cheryl and I didn't dance. We sat down at a table. I could feel all the food and dancing already taking its toll on my stomach. Or maybe it was just the song. You know, the second best never get any credit, not even from their parents. You're not second best. I am. They're right. She does sing better than me. Cheryl played with a fork on somebody else's dessert plate and then left there when somebody else had gotten up to dance. You know what really ticks me off? Is that singing is the thing I do best. I mean, if there was anything else I could do really well, it wouldn't be so bad. But I can't. All I can really do is sing, you know? She tapped the icing-covered fork a few times, then a smile appeared on her face. I wish we were back in the cemetery. Why? Because if we were, sweet little Becky would never make it out of there alive. And then she laughed, that sinister laugh reserved for mad scientists. Oh, you wouldn't hurt her and you know it. Yeah, but I can have lots of fun pretending, can't I? She put down the fork and thought for a moment. Let's see, what could we do? We could wire her braces shut so she couldn't sing, only hum. That's pretty good, said smiling. How about putting hydrochloric acid in her punch? Oh, no, said Cheryl, getting excited. We'll get an enormous cork, cover it with super glue, drop it in the barrel on Halloween when it's her turn to bob for apples. Okay, wait. We scare her so much that she screams so loud she can never sing again. No mess, no evidence. Genius, genius. All right, how about we send her in for a tonsillectomy, but we write on her chart to remove her vocal cords instead. You're sick, Cheryl. Look who's talking, Jared. We both laughed for a while, then looked over at little Miss Goldenthroat, holding the microphone like she was born with it in her hands. We laughed some more. Don't you ever imagine doing nasty things to people that really tick you off like that? She asked. That was a question I didn't even have to think about. Yeah, like every day, I said. And I'll bet I know just who it is. She giggled. She knew who, all right. It didn't take much thinking to figure out. It was Austin Pace. My very good friend, Austin Pace. My buddy, my teammate, my pal. It's kind of a weird feeling to hate a friend. You don't know whether to go and have fun together or to punch him out. Not that I would ever punch Austin out. It's just that sometimes you like to think about it, that's all. Kind of like throwing darts at someone's picture. The song ended, and everyone applauded. Then the lead singer got on the microphone again and said, "Let's hear it for Rebecca!" The applause got louder. Cheryl grimaced. "You want to hear another one?" asked the lead singer. Cheryl looked at me with that "please God, no" expression on her face. But the applause got louder. Rebecca mumbled something to the band. They nodded and started up again. Another big dance number. Rebecca began to bounce around again and strut across the stage, all proud. Then Cheryl and I watched some old relative toss flowers at Rebecca from the floral centerpieces on the tables, and she put one behind her ear. "I think I'm going to be sick," said Cheryl, as we watched a scene that was beginning to resemble a freak show. That part on 13 where it says, "Don't you ever imagine doing nasty things to people that really tick you off like that?" I highlighted that one, and I wrote Chad Morin, who was the kid I hated when I was in high school. That part of it. Did you have one too? Have you guys found any other connections that you've written so far? Con?
Always so convinced that they were right.
Yes.
Nice. Whenever I say something, she always thinks I'm wrong, and it's so annoying.
I can understand
She
that.
also wants to do it.
Sounds like a good argument. Grant?
The eyes roll back so fun. Like,
Yeah.
the eyeballs roll so far back you can almost feel them turn in your head. You're my sister because like whenever someone's talking, she like.
She's an eye roller.
Oh, I should.
Isabel?
It says neither Cheryl nor Randall knew to shut up. There's this kid that sits next to me in band. I asked him a question, and he started explaining. It was like, I forget what I asked him, but it was something about geometry. And then he like explained for 5 minutes about
And didn't shut up.
10th grade math.
So you just wrote random kid from band.
I don't know if it was him, because what if he was
Okay, then I understand. Then nicely done. Then I appreciate it. He's even nicer of you. Zach. The winklet?
Delinquent.
Delinquent. Gotcha.
My brother.
Oh, yes, yes.
See, a bit of a hoodlum. Cameron?
Like, if it's like and stuff like that about people who hate me, just put initials.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. Like it.
The part where they're explaining what they could do to figure out how to lie.
Any particular reason? That's
Because he's a violent person. Who?
okay. Her brother. I had him in class. Chapter Austin Pace. In our town, high school doesn't start in 9th grade. 100 years ago, some founding father decided that 7th through 9th grade belonged in junior high school, and no one's bothered to change it since. It was the first day of the last year of junior high, and Austin was all, sorry, yeah, so it means that what grade are they in then? Nice it up. And Austin was already at it. He was even early that morning, jogging around the track. Coach Schuler hadn't even come in yet, and there was Austin in last year's gym shorts. Sorry. Running in circles for the whole world to see. I'm certain he was doing it for that reason, so the whole school would walk by and say, "Wow, Austin's really dedicated, isn't he?" Well, I was dedicated too. I just didn't flaunt it in public. Austin's good at a large number of things. Good enough for people to notice, but not enough to be labeled a brain, or a jock, or a nerd, or anything. In short, he's what every kid wants to be, or at least what I always wanted to be. He is, in his own way, perfection on 2 feet, and he knows it. I hated him. He didn't know that. To him, I was just one of his many friends. If he'd been a year or 2 older than me, he might have been someone I looked up to. Can you believe that? He loves it when younger kids look up to him. I'm not younger, though. I'm 3 months older than him, and he never really treated me like a friend, or even like an equal. He kind of treated me like a worm, or at least tried to make me feel like one. I used to think it was because I was the one who started up that now infamous nickname that still plagued his existence. Lost in Space. The name stuck to him like Velcro. He could never peel it off. Yeah, I used to think that was why he treated me like he did. But that wasn't it. He ran deeper and stronger than that. You see, unlike everyone else, I was the only one who came close to being a threat to him. Like I said, Austin's good and everything, but there was only one thing that he was out and out great at. He could run. As a kid, everyone knew he was fast. He beat everyone he ever challenged, even kids older than him, for as long as I can remember. For as long as I can remember, I was the second fastest, always the second best runner. I wouldn't have been so bad being second best, but you see, it's what I did best out of everything. Just like Cheryl and her singing. I wasn't outstanding in any of my classes, and I wasn't the most popular guy in school. Whatever it was, I was always somewhere in the middle. I was the guy you would never notice. They used to call me the generic kid when I was 10, because at day camp, none of the counselors could remember my name. I just didn't stand out. But I could run. And when you're a fast runner, there's nothing like that feeling as you pick up speed. Actually feel your body accelerate. And you realize that the wind isn't a wind at all. It's just you cutting through the still air like a bullet. There's nothing like that feeling when you know this is what you do well and nobody can take it away. Nobody but Lost in Space. And he took it away real good. Not so much by beating me, but by purposely making me feel like I wasn't worth a thing. He knew exactly what to say to squash me beneath his big toe. Things like, maybe it's your running shoes that make you slow. Or, maybe next year your legs will grow longer and you'll have a fighting chance. Or maybe he'd just look at me with that silent gloat in his smile after beating me in yet another race. I don't know why, but it seemed that Coach Schuler always put us in the same races. We would take first and second, but when Austin and I were racing, there were no places, only winner and loser. And I was always, without exception, the loser. Once, I was the best. That one year when Austin's father, who was a professor, took the whole family traipsing around South America for a whole year. It was in 7th grade, first year on the junior high school team. I finally got to see that finish line ribbon, to feel it pull across my chest as I crossed the line. I was hot then, the hero, popular. everything I could have wanted. Then Austin came back like I knew he would. I remember the beginning of 8th grade. Before the coach knew him, we were lined up for time trials, and just before Austin was to go, he turned to me and gave me that smile. The smile that said, "You're nothing, Jared Mercer, and I'll prove it." The coach yelled, "Go!" And Austin took off, blew my 60-yard time sky high, beat it by almost half a second, which might not seem like much, but races are lost by hundreds of seconds. From that moment on, I was a backseater again, the generic kid, living in the bigger-than-life shadow of lost in space. But this time it was worse, because I'd tasted what it was like to be a winner, and Austin was determined to make sure I would never taste it again. "You take these things too seriously," my father would say. "So he's faster than you. Big deal. I bet there are things you do better than he does." But there weren't. And my father just didn't understand. It wasn't just that he was faster than me. It was that I was second, and nobody on this earth could care less about runners-up. And there we'll stop. Your homework is to not read, because we're going to try to get through a big chunk of it tomorrow.